So good afternoon, and want to welcome you all to our final presentation of day 2 of the Virtual Training Institute 8.0. And today we have Juanita Fisher and Kimberly Washington, who are going to give a presentation on differentiation in the ABE ASE Classroom. But before we do that, just a few housekeeping items. You will get your proof of participation approximately 24 hours from now, and it will come from Zoom. When this session ends, an evaluation will pop up, so please take a few minutes just to fill out that brief evaluation. Want to remind you that we are in webinar format, so you will not have the ability to unmute yourselves, but you can use the chat feature. So before we get started, I am going to go ahead and launch a quick poll so that our presenters know who we have in this presentation. So if you could just take a couple of seconds to indicate your role in adult education, that would be helpful. So I'll give it a couple more seconds. So thank you everybody for responding. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And it looks like we have, interestingly, most of the participants fall in the other category. Not sure what other is, but that's okay. It just means they don't fit one of these. So we have some instructional specialists and then some program administrators and then also some intake specialists and transition specialists. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And I am going to turn this over to Juanita and Kimberly.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining. Myself and Juanita, we are super excited to spend this time with you all today. Our time together is set up in sections. I will do a portion first, and then Juanita will do a portion next. Hello, my name is Kimberly Washington, and I serve as an adult basic education instructor at the Community College of Baltimore County, Essex, and Dundalk. I am excited to share how artificial intelligence will support planning, differentiated instruction, and student learning. You will be asked to actively engage in this session by creating an AI account, responding to questions using the chat, and sharing your reflections in the chat. Let's take full advantage of our time together. This portion of the workshop is designed to introduce the power of ChatGPT in enhancing your teaching practices. We will explore how to create personalized learning experiences, generate engaging content, and foster critical thinking. I'm excited to engage in AI-assisted differentiation as an innovative approach to teaching and learning. Our objectives. We will build our understanding of the capabilities and potential of ChatGPT. Second, we will explore practical ways to integrate ChatGPT into lesson planning and content creation. Lastly, we will learn strategies for personalized instruction and assessment using ChatGPT. We will begin by leveraging our own experiences with differentiation. Please take a moment to read each question and jot down your thoughts. You will not be asked to share out.
So in response to Susan's comment, I can hear it on my end. So if anybody else is having difficulties with hearing the presenter, please let us know.
Awesome. Thank you for engaging in that reflection. Carol Ann, author of the Differentiated Classroom, writes, differentiation means tailoring instruction to meet individual needs, whether teachers differentiate content, process, products, or the learning environment. The use of ongoing assessment and flexible grouping makes this a successful approach to instruction. For many of us, consistently using differentiation strategies in an adult basic education or GED class is difficult. We may have as many levels as students and with limited time to accomplish course outcomes. Let's explore how artificial intelligence can help us in our efforts. What is ChatGPT? This brief 1-minute video will discuss the technical aspects of ChatGPT. Wonderful. So now that we have
ChatGPT?
An introductory.
Essentially, it is a computer program that can have a conversation with people and answer questions. What is ChatGPT? Essentially, it is a computer program that can have a conversation with people and answer questions or generate text based on input. It uses an advanced form of AI called deep learning to generate text based on a given prompt. Think of it as a virtual writing assistant or a smart chatbot that can understand and respond to you in natural language. ChatGPT was developed by OpenAI and is a language model that has been trained on massive amounts of text data from books and the internet, allowing it to generate human-like responses to a variety of questions and prompts. It's like a machine that has read and learned a lot, so it can write its own replies and stories.
Wonderful. So now that we have an introductory understanding of ChatGPT, let's explore. I am planning for an upcoming lesson on fractions with my Essential Skills 3 class. Like most, my students have a range of experiences and their understanding of fractions is equally diverse. Let's see how to leverage ChatGPT during my planning. Okay, so we're going to take a look at how I use ChatGPT to help me or to support my planning in the fractions unit. You all will have an opportunity to create a ChatGPT account. You're going to get to go in, put some prompts in there related to an upcoming lesson or any questions you have. You can ask it to generate a poem about flowers. You can drop in ChatGPT your resume and ask it for a cover letter. It really is endless, the possibilities. Today, of course, we're going to focus on planning for instruction. And so what you see on the screen now is I simply put into ChatGPT, create a lesson plan introducing fractions. And this is what it gave me. The grade level was around 3rd to 4th grade. It's a 45 to 60-minute unit. And you will notice it includes objectives, materials, and the introduction. It's also framing as if this is the very first time students are finding out about fractions. But for me in my GED class, I need something a little more advanced because all of my students have some level of experience with fractions. So I went in and I changed the instructions. This time I said, create a lesson for reviewing instead of introducing, reviewing fractions to GED students. So I have provided more explicit instruction to ChatGPT. And you will notice now the grade level is adult education. Again, I'm given materials and I am given a framework for a lesson. This is especially helpful if you have already facilitated 3 or 4 lessons on fractions and you're really looking for some new ideas for that particular class, or you have taught GED level classes for years and you're just looking for some new ideas. So here's the lesson. It tells me to review some concepts. It's given me some more information around application, independent practice. It includes closing, homework assessment. So my next ask of ChatGPT is to create a worksheet. And notice it's conversational. So this is very conversational. You don't have to start all over and do a brand new framing for ChatGPT. You can simply say, create a worksheet for this. And it knows that this is referencing the lesson plan that it just created. So it does that. It creates a lesson plan. My worksheet includes numerator, denominator. We have some conversions here to improper fractions, mixed numbers, finding the greatest common factor. You can ask it to regenerate, right? You don't care for these questions or you want multiple sets of questions. I then asked ChatGPT to provide an answer key for me. And that's exactly what it does. It provides an answer key for you. But as we know in our GED classes, we have varying levels. Our students come with so many different life experiences and educational levels. So I want to leverage ChatGPT to help me differentiate. So I asked for 3 different worksheets with different levels of difficulty, and it's going to produce exactly what you asked it for. That's one example of leveraging ChatGPT. I'm going to show another example. This is a language arts example. In this example, my instructions were to create 2 historical viewpoints on women's rights that a GED student can use to compare, summarize, determine theme, and author's purpose. And we know that this is aligned to the outcomes of the work we do around language arts in preparation for the GED, and also the extended response with the comparing, contrasting. You can use this to launch your discussion around quality data that's included when our students have to determine which author provided the best evidence or the best argument based on the data included. So ChatGPT gives me 2 opposing viewpoints. The first one, women's suffrage movement in the early 20th century, and it gives a summary of that. And then in the second, the viewpoint is a traditionalist perspective of women's roles in the 19th century. Very short passages, but you can be more explicit in your instructions, and you can provide ChatGPT with guidelines around the length of the passage you're looking for. In the end, ChatGPT gave me a comparison and a summary of what it produced. This could serve as an exemplar if you use this activity in your I do portion of your lesson when you're introducing this concept. You can have it. You can also use it for students to read over it and for you to share your thinking of why this would be appropriate. So I am going to pause here because I want to give you all an opportunity to visit the site, create your own account, and start to play with ChatGPT. All right, so I would like everyone to open up a window, and you can do it from Google. You can just type in ChatGPT, or you can type in this web address that's listed here. I can even put that in the chat for you guys. There you go. I've dropped it in the chat for you. But I would like for you to create an account. And while you are pivoting to that, creating your account is very quick. Should take you like less than a minute. You're just typing in an email address and a password, and you are in ChatGPT. Before I give you a few minutes to explore on your own, I wanted to share one more example around the specificity that you can ask or you can put into ChatGPT so that the output is exactly or more closely aligned to what you're hoping to get. So in this screenshot, I wrote to ChatGPT, I'm adding framing. You are an experienced GED teacher teaching fractions for the third time to the same group of students. So this is me telling ChatGPT exactly who I am. Your task is to create a lesson that includes differentiation for 3 different levels of students while constantly asking me questions to better grasp what I'm looking for. So instead of putting in an instruction and just leaving it to be, I now want to really engage with ChatGPT so that I have a better chance of getting the outcome that I'm looking for. And in true ChatGPT fashion, it responds, certainly, I'd be happy to help. To get started, could you please provide me with some information? So its response are questions to me. How many students are in your class? What are the specific learning needs or abilities that you're aware of? What is the age range? How many groups of students do you want? What materials do you have available for me to use? What specific learning objectives are you trying to achieve? So ChatGPT, again, in a conversational tone, will ask you information so that the output is just what you're looking for. All right. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to give you time to go into log on to your web browser, create your ChatGPT account, and you can type what are the wonders to the world, what are the answers to the questions you've already had, or what you can type is related to an upcoming lesson you have. So you are about to teach solving one-step equations, and you need some support from ChatGPT or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to pause for 3 minutes and give you all an opportunity to explore. All right, I'm going to bring us back together. And to close out this portion of the workshop, I'm going to ask you to put in the chat some notes about your findings or how you experienced it. What are your initial thoughts about ChatGPT? Is it something that you believe will be useful in your differentiation efforts? So please feel free to drop a note in the chat.
I want to make a quick comment to all the participants that you need to change your selection in the chat to everyone so that everyone can see your comments. Otherwise, it only comes to myself and Juanita and Kimberly. I don't know if the comment about repeating it was for what I said, but you might want to change in the chat feature when you go to chat to select that you want your comment to go to everyone. That way all the participants will be able to see your response.
Thank you, everyone, for your engagement. I have been able to see a lot of your comments because you all have been sending them to the panelists, and I hope that you will paste so that everyone can see it. For some folks, they had trouble creating an account. Unfortunately, I'm unable to help you troubleshoot that at the moment, but hopefully you have an opportunity to go back in and try to create and get assistance from ChatGPT tech assistants to help you with that. For those of you that were able, there are some very encouraging comments in the chat, which is super exciting for me because I am a beginner with ChatGPT. My son, who recently graduated from college, introduced it to me, and I'm glad he did. So thank you again for your level of participation. And I will put my contact information in the chat if that's okay. I'm not sure. And I will be happy to connect with you and share ideas. So I am going to pivot to Miss Juanita. Thank you again.
So good afternoon, and thank you, Kim, for that presentation on ChatGPT. We're going to now get into the next part of our presentation. And I don't have any sound. So give me 1 second, please. instructor at CCBC. Today I will be sharing part 2 of this presentation, Nearpod and Differentiation. Today we will explore how Nearpod can be a powerful tool for teaching support and differentiating instruction for students. By the end of this professional development session, instructors will be equipped with the knowledge and skills to effectively apply differentiation in their classrooms.
Juanita, would you like me to try sharing?
Yes, could you please?
I
Thank
think
you.
what may have happened is when you share your screen, I'm not sure if you shared your sound.
Okay,
It's in the bottom left-hand corner, but I can share.
let me stop sharing.
Okay.
Well, actually, if you start sharing, it'll kick me off.
Okay. Let me pivot to where you are.
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita Fisher. I am a GED instructor at CCBC. Today I will be sharing part 2 of this presentation, Nearpod and Differentiation. Good afternoon. Today we will explore how Nearpod can be a powerful tool to engage, support, and differentiate instruction for GED students. By the end of this professional development session, instructors will be equipped with the knowledge and skills to effectively use Nearpod for differentiation in their classrooms, catering to diverse learning needs and enhancing student success. Today we will differentiated instruction and why it is important. Differentiated instruction is the process of tailoring lessons to meet each student's individual interests, needs, and strengths. Teaching this way gives students choice and flexibility in how they learn and helps instructors personalize learning. So Kim, I'm going to stop sharing sound and I'm just going to talk on these parts. Community colleges in Maryland, like in many other parts of the United States, differentiated instruction and why it is important. Differentiated instruction is the process of tailoring.
Okay, you are all set.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. So what this slide was really talking about was how in our classes there are so many needs because we serve such diverse populations in the community colleges in Maryland. And it talks about how this diversity can be seen in racial and ethnic diversity and age ranges, socioeconomic diversity, language diversity, educational backgrounds, life circumstances, and geographic diversity. So it makes it an interesting challenge as we are teaching our students, as we're trying to teach one skill to such a diverse background of students. So we're not sure where our students were in their educational experiences. Usually when we register students for our programs, we ask them how far they were able to make it in school. So a student who finished 4th grade is going to have a very different experience than a student who made it through high school. So when we're looking at how to differentiate instruction, we have to think about the content, the process, and the product, but we also have to think about our students in terms of readiness, interest, and learning profiles. So Nearpod, which we're going to get to in a minute, is really an interesting way to kind of bring in some different levels for our students to engage our students. Next slide, please, Kim. Differentiated. So Nearpod, as I said, is really interesting as a tool for differentiation. I use Nearpod in my class as a Essential 3 instructor, and I use it for different reasons. I use it because I can set up different Nearpod experiences for different students on different levels. I can use it for writing. I can use it for math. I can use it to add gamification to a lesson, as well as I can use some of the polls in the lesson so students can kind of evaluate where they are and where they still need to be. I also use it so that as students are working through the different lessons, I can get quick assessments. I can see who's engaged, how long they're spending on doing an activity, if what I've given them might be a little difficult, so there's not an access point for that student. It gives me a lot of information so that I can adjust my instruction to the individual needs of the students. So we're going to watch a quick video about Nearpod.
Introducing Nearpod. With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join. With interactive slides, interactive video, gamification, and activities. As the teacher, you always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including polls, open-ended questions, and more. Get started with what you already have. Add the power of Nearpod to your existing PowerPoints, worksheets, videos, Google Slides, and other curriculum resources you love. Create active video experiences to check for understanding with built-in interactive questions. Increase engagement with gamification and activities, including time to climb, draw it, drag and drop, and more. Get started even faster with our library of pre-made standard-aligned lessons, videos, and activities built in partnership with some of your favorite educational brands. Use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose the teaching mode that works best for your setting. In live participation mode, you control the pace, and students participate on their devices, in person or virtually. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, working from home or in class, in centers, stations, or groups. Toggle between live and student-paced lesson delivery with live to student-paced mode to address misconceptions on the fly and differentiate for student needs. With front-of-class mode, you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Your students will love lessons that combine interactive slides, interactive video, gamification, and activities. You'll love using insights from more than 20 formative assessments and dynamic media experiences to guide your teaching, adapt instruction, differentiate, and improve student outcomes. However you teach, it's in Nearpod. Learn more and get started for free at nearpod.com. Introducing.
So again, kind of with the video, we just talked to us about with creating different pathways for learners, embedding choice activities. I think it's always with differentiation, it's important to make sure that your students have choices. In some instances, you won't give them a choice. So when you use Nearpod, there is a button you can click that says that students cannot move on until they finished a certain activity. But in other opportunities, you can let them choose what activities they want to do. So it really depends on if you're doing enrichment, remediation. So you choose the path depending on what your student needs. And that goes along with incorporating tiered assignments and resources. Next slide, please. So best practices for implementation. Again, with technology, we always have to be careful to make sure that we are using it according to students' needs and learning profiles. Then we're not just taking a technology tool and throwing it out there for our students to use. So with this, once you know what your students need and how they learn and what their learning profiles are, you can adjust Nearpod to meet those needs. And you also have to set clear expectations. And again, that goes a long way with the fact that you can see when students are participating, how much participation, how much time is being spent on different assignments. You have to set those clear expectations. And the best part about this is also collecting the data for ongoing improvement. So we're going to try to go to Nearpod and just look at a lesson and see how we can use Nearpod in our classes. The code is at the top. I think Kim is going to put it in the chat. So if you go to that, you're going to join a class using the AQBFJ. And as you do that, think about these different questions and think about the learners in your environment. How can Nearpod be used to engage learners? What are some specific features of Nearpod that can help you differentiate instruction? How can we assess prior knowledge? I don't want to read all these questions to you, but just kind of think about them as you go through the Nearpod activity. So take about 5 minutes and go through, and then we'll come back together and talk.
So to let participants know, if you want to make a comment, the only way you can do that is in the chat box.
Let's take about 1 more minute, and as you're exploring this lesson, please put any comments in the chat box about what you felt helpful, if you think this is something that you could use, if you've used it before, and how you may have used it in a different way. Okay, as we come back together and go on to the next slide, I saw a couple of comments about they think this would be engaging for their students. This would be helpful in pre-GED math. I saw one person say that it was like Pure Deck, so that's encouraging that you all think this would be something you can use in your classrooms. We skipped one, Kim. It's a quick video of how this was used by another instructor.
Hi everyone, Allie here. So I've decided to just show you my top 5 favorite kind of transformative uses of Nearpod in the classroom because my other videos were about 20 minutes long. So I've decided to keep it brief and just go through kind of my top 5 highlights. Okay, so number 1 are the interactive videos. So this is an interactive video I used with the sociology class that I teach. I wanted them to watch the video, but I wanted them to engage with the content, and so I created this interactive video from a YouTube video, from a TED Talk. Each of these blue dots represents a question that I've inserted into the video that students are forced to answer before they can continue with the video. So this has been completely transformative for me. In the past, yes, I could have posted a YouTube video and had students watch it, but now I know who has watched it, I know how far they've proceeded through the video, and for me I might sometimes use it for formative assessment, but for the most part that tells me who has watched the video so that I know how to proceed with our lesson. Like, I know how to proceed with when we do get together to discuss the content. I know how much review I have to do. So if I hit play here, so this is asking me if I'd like to start the activity because I've done this as a live participation. So if I say start, it's going to report to me as students answer. No one's answered because no one's in the lesson, but you could also set it to student pace and you'd get all this information at the end anyway. Okay, number 2 is the immersive reader feature. So here's a sample that Nearpod created to show the immersive reader functionality. And it's pretty sophisticated, I find, and I realize that other programs do offer the immersive reader, but for me, to have it built into Nearpod and not ask students to leave that platform is just really valuable. So you can just have it read in English.
Reader. When creating in Nearpod by uploading.
And of course you can change the speed and change between female and male voices. You can change the look, so we can make the font much larger. You can choose a different font or background color. You can also have certain parts of speech highlight. Okay, so depending on what you're teaching. But for me, really, the transformative piece of this is the translation. So if I'm teaching my students who have English as a second or third or fourth language, they can translate to their own language. We'll choose Chinese here. And I can ask it to change the entire document. And certain languages will read to you in that language, and Chinese is one of them.
使用沉浸式阅读器，通过上传 Power.
Okay, so really that's something that isn't available without technology, right? I can't translate things into Mandarin for my students, but and while there is technology that can do that, to have it built in to Nearpod is pretty transformative for me. Number 3 are the VR field trips combined with some cool web content. So this is created by Nearpod as well. I didn't create this, but this is meant for English language learners who are maybe new to North America, and it allows them to tour a grocery store and kind of learn some new vocabulary along the way. So you can see I'm hovering over the asparagus here, and it's blinking at me to tell me that there's content there. If I click on it,
So I just wanted to give you some different activities of how you could, some different activities built into Nearpod and how you could use them. The ability to change some of the accessibility features, to change the language could work wonders in your classrooms. So there are lots of benefits and challenges with using Nearpod. The active student participation and engagement is wonderful. The fact that you can use it in so many ways, you can give students Nearpod to take home and use. You can use it as a whole class activity. You can break it into smaller parts. You can decide if you want it to be self-paced or you can be up front in front of the class and lead the whole class with Nearpod. It should increase some student motivation depending on how you use it and what skills you target with it. The immediate feedback on student learning is great. The fact that it integrates with other platforms and the student pacing that allows for individualization. There's also free PD that's offered in order to familiarize yourself with Nearpod. Of course, with any tech comes challenges. So creating and modifying lessons can sometimes be time consuming. With the free versions, one of the questions was, would you have to purchase something? So there is a free version, but there is not a lot of storage with that version. So I have found that sometimes you have to take some lessons off in order to add other lessons. The learning curve and mastering the platform. And of course, the internet speed and the access to devices. So depending on your organization and your internet speed, if you're asking students to take some time at home to complete an assignment, we have to think about equity with access to devices and internet speed and that type of thing. Can you hit the play button there for me, please?
Sure.
Nearpod is an amazing technology tool. So a couple of things to take away from this session is that there is potential for Nearpod to transform GED instruction through differentiation. If you explore and experiment with Nearpod in your classrooms, I'm sure there'll be something that you can use for some students. You might not be able to use it for every lesson or every student, but there's definitely something there for some of your students. So thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for joining us during this session. Please, if you have any other questions or comments, add them to the chat. And Kim, did you have anything to add?
No, just appreciations. Awesome job, Juanita.
Thank you.
Everyone that attended. So I think we can hang out for 7 minutes, or I don't know what happens now.
You can hang out if you want to, that's okay. So on behalf of the Maryland Department of Labor, I want to thank Juanita and Kim. Those are great resources. And one thing that I've learned is that instructors love resources. They want, and even better when they get to try them out. And this is a perfect way to do that, because sometimes it can be hard to, to make the time to actually explore these resources, and they just kind of get pushed aside. But when you try them and you see how they work, and what a great opportunity this is to use them with your students, it can make a difference. So really, again, just want to thank the two of you. This was a great presentation, and trying to see if there was any questions.
One person said, can you please review ChatGPT after getting a lesson plan, how we can get more information such as specific vocabulary?
Sure. So once you put in a command in ChatGPT, create a lesson on author's purpose or whatever your topic is, you can then, after it creates the lesson, you can then say, create a vocabulary list for this. ChatGPT understands what this means, so it's more of a conversation. Okay, perfect.
And someone asked about ESL and if they could use these tools with those classes. I definitely think that you could use both tools for your classes. I think the vocabulary, where they went to the grocery store and you could click on different things to see what the items were in terms of increasing vocabulary for, familiar things. And GPT, I'm sure you could put something in the chat to increase vocabulary for ESOL students.
I would say when you're engaging with ChatGPT, just think about a collaborative planning session with a colleague and just talk to it as if they're talking back to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that there are no more questions. Again, just want to thank Kim and Juanita for giving of their expertise and their knowledge and sharing it with the rest of you. So everybody else, just want to remind you that we do have some more sessions for tomorrow and for Thursday. So it's not too late to sign up. If you see something that's of interest to you, go ahead, sign up. Love to, have you participate in those presentations also. And other than that, I just wish everybody a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you.